Welcome, everyone. What are the keys to success? We might all have different answers to this question. I love to find wisdom about anything from anywhere I can find it, regardless of whether I can relate to someone's journey or not. Today, I share with you a path of a successful Wall Street investment banker who quit that life to become a monk. In his story, he says that he found success on Wall Street, and that brought with it a lot of monetary wealth, fine clothing, drinks, and a lot of partying. But that life left him empty and spiritually bankrupt. And this led him to India to begin his spiritual journey to find happiness and success. And when I saw this Swami for the first time on YouTube, I was really excited about the wisdom he shared on success in his Path of a Swami podcast. Unfortunately, when I asked him to do my podcast, he was busy at the time. However, thankfully, he gave me permission to air his messages. So here now is Swami Chidananda on the three keys to success. So take from it whatever resonates with you.
Welcome to the Path of a Swami podcast. My name is Swami Chidananda, and this will be a series of videos that I'll be doing speaking about some of my experiences of being a monk and walking the spiritual path. If you haven't had a chance and you're new to this particular podcast, I encourage you to check out the previous videos where I spoke about how I became a monk and also my time living in an ashram with an enlightened master. In this year, I want to share more about some of the experiences that I had after I left the ashram and came to the States and started teaching and connecting with people. Also, it was really beautiful because the last few months I've been traveling all around the world in Germany, Switzerland, Spain, India, and also the States. And so many people have come up to me and said that this particular podcast inspired them and gave them some new insights on life. So that was really sweet to hear. And I often think about what is success, right? Because before I became a monk, I was working in investment banking, in finance, and mergers and acquisitions. And of course, success in the material world is driven by money, by power, by fame. And that's how we quantify success. We say we're successful when we buy a new house, or we're successful when we get elected as the president, or we're successful when we're able to get a big bonus at the end of the year. And while these are elements of success, ultimately that's not really what success is. Traveling around the world these last few months, I came across so many different types of people. Rich people, poor people, people from all types of different cultures. And for each one, I see that success means something different. I see many, many people that are rich, but are completely miserable. I see many, many people that are at peace, but are struggling for their meal. And so for me, success is actually a combination of both. Spirituality doesn't mean that we have to give up everything and go live in a cave, right? And not make any money. No. Success means be in the world, do your duty, make enough that you can take care of yourself and your family in a proper way, and also have a little bit left over that you can donate to causes that you feel connected to. And while you're working, you're also doing your daily spiritual practices, so you remain equanimous no matter what happens in your life. That's true success. Because if you just focus on power, fame, or influence, that doesn't guarantee you happiness. And sometimes that brings a lot of pride into one's life as well. I remember when I was at the Miami Art Week, just I guess 4 months ago, I was giving a talk, and it was at a place that was really very well off. Right? So there's a lot of rich people that came to the talk, to listen and took part in the Om chanting. And while it was really, really nice, at the end of it, I spoke about learning a mantra, doing something on a daily basis that can help you to center yourself on your spiritual path. And I said that it was very important and one should definitely do it. And so after I finished the talk, this lady came up and she said, "Give me a mantra." Right? In that tone, in that energy, "Give me a mantra." So I looked at her and I smiled and I said, I'm not like a monkey in a circus where you pay and then I dance. That's not really how the spiritual path works. You see, a mantra carries the name of the divine. And by chanting the mantra, we start to go from the mind to the heart. So it's the most sacred thing one can possess because it's not bound by time and space. Right? If I give you money, it can come and it can go. Health comes and goes. Everything comes and goes, but the mantra is eternal. Once you have the mantra, it's an embodiment of that love, and that love is eternally with you. It goes with you even after this life. So for the saints, the sages, the spiritual practitioners, to receive a mantra is the greatest thing that one can get. And we have to receive it in a humble energy, because a mantra is an embodiment of love. It's an embodiment of God. And so God it's not bound by time and space. God is beyond material reality. And so if you perceive that I can gain a mantra by paying this Swami some money, I can gain a mantra through my material connections, then your ego becomes activated. And when your ego becomes activated, if you receive the mantra, it's like if your hands were open and water just came out, right? Like you can't hold it because there is no humility to understand the importance of it in one's life. And so that's why I see with a lot of people, they are programmed to think, well, I can have whatever I want in the world, and that correlates so I can have whatever I want on the spiritual path. And I paid for a Starbucks coffee, so I can pay for the mantra. What's the difference? But it's very, very different. Especially even 100, 200 years ago. If you wanted to go and meet a Swami, you had to go on pilgrimage. You had to give up everything. You had to hike for months to finally meet somebody to receive knowledge from them. But now you can just go on Google. You can watch a podcast. You can go to a talk in New York City and boom, you're connected with the Swami. And while that's beautiful, because there's never been a time when this knowledge is more accessible, it also is a hindrance because then one doesn't value it. One doesn't appreciate what it takes to receive it. And so in that way, don't look at success as just something material. Because even if you're materially successful, in knowledge, we are poor. In wisdom, we are poor. And so it was really beautiful actually with the lady, because when I said this, she literally started crying. And she said, in my life, everything I ever wanted, I got with money. But for the first time, you're offering something that I know I can't buy. I have to be humble to receive it. And so I said, come back next year. I'll be here next year and I'll be happy to teach you the mantra. And that's real success when we understand and have wisdom about how this world works. So many people come up to me and say, how can I be successful? How can I bridge the gap between material reality and spiritual reality? And to be honest, my guru gave an amazing answer as to how we can be successful. And it's 3 points. And I encourage you to meditate on these 3 points, to write it down. And if you made it this far into the podcast, I also would encourage you to write it in the comments, so others might be able to see it as well if they haven't reached this far. So the 3 keys to success is that 1, you should be happy when other people are successful. Okay? Be happy when others are successful. Because we are so conditioned with greed and expectation and jealousy that we can't be happy for others. Right? But when we understand that God resides in the hearts of all beings, then somebody else's success is also your success. Somebody else, when they rise in love, we all rise in love. Because God is in all beings. God is in everything. And the moment we perceive ourselves to be different, the moment we perceive somebody else to be successful, and we can't be happy for them, we're always in the ego. We're actually always in limitation. Because the ego is limited. Love is eternal. And so when we're in love, we're not conditioned by fear and anger and frustration and greed. We're conditioned by understanding that everything that ever was and everything that ever will be is all, we are in possession and all of it. And so when we start to be happy for others, we understand the fact of life, which is that we are all connected. So 1, be happy for others. The second is that enjoy what you do. It doesn't mean that every day you have to wake up and say, yes, I'm excited to go to work. No, enjoy what you do in the sense that try and find purpose and meaning in it. Because so many of us in our lives, we're like robots. We wake up, we go to work, we come back, we do our 9 to 5, and we do 30 years of it. And we might never feel any type of satisfaction in what we're doing. And then we die, we give our things to our children, and then they carry on our tradition. So it's not about, okay, now I have to quit. Swami says I have to quit and now I have to go and do something else. No, it's about, okay, let me understand why God has put me in this position. Let me understand what I can learn from it, how I can grow from it. And let me try and use this particular job or dharma that I've been given to be of service in some way. And that service can be a smile. That service can be adopting a child. That service can be helping your mother. So there's always a way to serve, even in the worst moments we find ourselves in. Even in dharmas that we think are terrible. There's always a way to serve. There's always a way to love. And so look at where you're at. Don't quit it, but start to understand how you can love it. And once you start to love it, once you start to understand why God has put you there, and once you start to use what you're doing in a way to serve others, right? If I'm a waitress at Starbucks, smile. 100 people, 1,000 people meet you every day. One smile could inspire one person, and if you do that, you would have had a cosmic impact on this universe, right? So there's always a way, no matter where you're at, to be of service in some way. And when you start to love what you do, then you'll see doors will naturally open up for other possibilities and opportunities. It's not that you have to be an accountant your whole life, or it's not that you have to be a barista for your whole life. But when you start to love it, naturally, greater, I would not even say greater, naturally other opportunities, other dharmas will come into your life where you can go deeper into being of service. So learn to love what you do. Learn to use it as a way to serve others. So first is be happy for others. Second is love what you do. And the third is paradoxical, but is really the trick, which is help others to be successful. Help others to be successful. In this world, we're so conditioned that we don't want others to succeed. You see, the ego loves to be on a mountaintop. There was once a disciple, and he asked his guru, "What is grace?" And the guru said, "You see, grace is not something we can understand with the mind, but grace has the properties of a river, in that it flows from the mountaintop to the valley. In the same way, grace flows from the mountaintop of the ego to the valley of humility. It can never reach the ego. It'll never come to the mountaintop. It will always go to the valley. In the same way, the ego likes to be on top, looking down, crushing, suppressing others. But love loves to rise people up, right? You don't fall in love, you rise in love. And the amazing thing about God, the amazing thing about love, is that if you take one step towards it, it takes 10 steps towards you. So when you understand that that divine being is in the hearts of all, and you help others to be successful, that same love will reciprocate 10 times back to you. If you give a little bit, you will get a lot. And so always try and help others be successful, and that will change your entire life. So be happy for others when they're successful. Learn to love what you do and help others to become successful. And if you do these three things, I promise you, your life will change in a very meaningful and impactful way. So I want to thank all of you that have been listening to the podcast. I'm excited to share new episodes this year, especially in my travels and the amazing things that have happened. But today I just wanted to speak about success, and maybe these three things can really help you in your life. And if you enjoy the podcast, if you enjoyed some of these teachings, I'd also encourage you to share it with others. Maybe they might find it helpful as well. Much love. Take care.
Thanks everyone for watching, and don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe.